And I also have with me webinar this morning, Victoria Rodriguez.
Good morning.
And we have many people on the webinar, so we will be getting started in just a minute.
I can start.
Okay, good morning and Happy New Year. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items to begin with. Due to the significant amount of material being and as they occur, silence your cell phones. Via webinar, please turn your computer speakers off and please mute your desktop telephone so the class does not hear what's going on in your office. A second floor restroom. And should there be a fire drill during the class, please exit through the stairwell outside of the elevator lobby. Our course objectives today. First, we have a disclaimer. CalHR has not actually provided any training to myself or my staff on this new system. We've gone over a couple of times and actually played with the system, but they explained very thoroughly that we were not receiving training during that time. We will be going to 2 hours of training next week. So information that's provided today is what we gathered actually through going through the testing process. Things could still change up until when the new system comes up. In the objectives today, we hope that you will understand the civil service improvement mandate, understand how my CalCareer account differs from other predecessors or the predecessor of my profile. Also understand what my CalCareer offers for job applicants. Understand what my CalCareer offers through to the hiring supervisors, and understand the CalHR system cutover date. Understand why the HRSB is rolling out the acceptance of my CalCareer electronic applications and hiring supervisor access in accordance with the project plan. Like I mentioned, we're going to be learning as we go, and we thank you for your patience. Service improvement project. It was a mandate. Governor Jerry Brown indicated the time is now to develop a comprehensive strategy to systematically improve, modernize the state civil service systems. Our job in the Personnel Bureau is to work with CalHR to have a smooth transition in this process. The Civil Service Improvement Project, there is a website that you can all access back at your office. We'll show you right now. It's a collaborative effort to improve California state government human resource processes. The goal of the Civil Service Improvement is to create a system that makes state of an employer of choice and build a workforce prepared to meet the recruitment and retention challenges our state government is currently facing. The system improvements are being overseen by the California Governor Operations Agency and developed and implemented by the California Department of Human Resources, CalHR, and the State Personnel Board. Through this process, we still need to make sure that everything is merit-based when we go through our hiring practices. Feels that this is the cutting edge for state civil service.
Go back to that.
The MyCal, the next one, after this one. And I'll now go over what my CalCareer account versus the current My Profile. The My Profile is what you currently go when you go into fill out your automated application and apply for jobs. That's what it's currently called, and we're cutting over to my CalCareer account. This process is password protected. It will send notifications via email to your email account, but all activity will take place in your My CalCareer account. And you'll get, when there's activity in your account, you will receive emails. So the current process, under My Profile, you establish your unique account, access CalHR, and take online examination. You view examination results. You're able to revise job acceptance status for full-time, part-time, limited term, what you're interested in considering. You're able to upload and attach state applications, send state, send state application attachments electronically in response to job announcements that accept them. Let me back up. So the first 4 items, I apologize, those are things that you were able to do in the My Profile. Moving forward, the items where it's checked My CalCareer, you will be able to do those things in the My CalCareer. And so there's many more, many additional items that you'll be able to now take care of, where before, if you wanted to change your time base, that's something you can now do versus contacting my unit to do that. So continuing, you'll be able to monitor the status of your pending applications that you've submitted electronically. You'll be able to receive contact letters electronically. That means eventually our department will no longer be sending hard copies. And you'll accept hiring interviews, and scheduling interviews will be done through your CalCareer account. For the hiring supervisor, this phase is going to give you additional responsibilities and access to certain things in the system. As the hiring supervisor, you'll be going through a training webinar. You'll be establishing a hiring supervisor profile. That profile is going to allow you the ability to eventually receive and view electronic applications. It will give you the ability to notify HRSB electronically of the people, the 5 applications you wish to have reviewed for eligibility for minimum qualifications. That's currently the hard copy PS412 process. You'll have the ability to contact participating applications within the system and have correspondence going back and forth. And you'll have the ability to retain hiring supervisor documents required for the 2-year retention period. Eventually, when everything is electronic, that's how they will come and audit us. It will just be them sitting at their desk pulling up our documents versus them coming out to our office now. So what is the process today? If you currently have a My Profile account as an applicant that's looking to look for other jobs, and you've been active in it in the last 6 months, that information will switch automatically over to the My CalCareer account that you will have. If it's older than that, you will need to set up a new My CalCareer account for yourself. The applicant will, as it is today, the applicant opens a My Profile account and takes an examination and receives examination results. The applicant looks for job openings on the jobs.ca.gov, which is our current VPOS. The applicant then has to mail a copy to us, a hard copy. Application is date stamped and forwarded to the supervisor. Supervisors then run the application through the merit-based application screening criteria. The supervisor checks eligibility, PS412 process. The supervisor conducts a merit-based interview and conducts reference, OPF checks, selects the most qualified candidate. What is our process for tomorrow with the new system? The applicant will now open a My CalCareer account. They'll take exams as they've done in the past, receive results electronically. Applicants will look for jobs on the jobs website. Applicants will send an electronic application with any required uploaded documents directly to the hiring supervisor within the My CalCareer system. The system date stamps the documents. The supervisor checks his or her My Cal account for incoming applications. Supervisors also monitor his or her mailbox for any incoming hard copy applications. There will be a transition period for a while where We will accept hard copy and electronic copies. We've been told that the SOQ process right now, when you are receiving hard copies and you don't receive an SOQ and that was required, that you can screen those individuals out. It will be a little bit harder to do that in the future with receiving electronic copies because there is going to be a process where it's a check and balance as the applicant's applying. It's not going to allow you to go to the next step unless you've uploaded something in that SOQ section. I don't think it's going to be as detailed a system to know that it's actually an SOQ document versus a resume, but we're getting there. So that's something to still consider. And then the supervisor will continue to check and receive applications electronically. Continuing on what the process is for tomorrow, the supervisor runs the applications through the merit-based screening criteria like they do now. The supervisor checks eligibility with the HRSB, the PS412 process for the qualified applicant. Schedule the hiring interviews and applicants through the CalCareer system. Again, it will all be electronic. Supervisor conducts the merit-based interviews as they've done in the past and the OPF checks, and then followed by the normal submission of the appoint of the PS222. CalCareer account job applicant. So what is the applicant going to be seeing and doing? They're going to establish a personnel account, either new or their active account will roll over like I mentioned. They're going to continue to complete exams online and complete their state application online. They're going to view examinations and eligibility records, make changes as they need to, edit their conditions of employment, what cities they're interested in working in, what locations cities they're interested in working in, and then time basis. They're going to receive electronic contact letters, and they're going to respond, like I mentioned, with their application, statement of qualification, whatever's being asked of them. Then it will be submitted electronically to our department. They will be able to track their current and pending job applications. And I do want to put a caveat out that we will not immediately begin, as a department, we will not immediately begin receiving electronic applications. We want to roll this out smoothly. So we're going to take January as the system comes back up, see how things are going, and then more than likely my brothers and sisters in admin will be the first division that we will work with them in submitting or receiving the electronic copies, and therefore thereafter we will roll out monthly different divisions that feel they're ready to take on that task.
No, I'm on a webinar.
Please make sure you mute your telephones, speakers. Thank you.
Wait right now.
Our next screen is going to show you some of the screens and what they're going to look like as we move into phase 3. I do apologize. They're blurry because we had to actually borrow them from CalHR and some of their processes. So, but what I can tell you is this first screen is what the exam screen is going to look like. So if you want to go out and take a test, see what tests are available, it's going to list
Obvious reasons, huh?
the final file date, that typical information that you see out there now on CalHR's website.
Debes saber que esta persona nos está haciendo un favor, ¿no?
Can you mute your telephone and speaker, please, on the webinar?
Very busy. Kelly?
Who's ever speaking Spanish, could you please mute your phone?
Thank you. Continuing on, our next slide of what ECOS is going to look like. This is how jobs are going to be posted. It's going to show the classification, the department, the application date, and the status, whether you've actively submitted one, if they've received it, that type of information. So as an applicant, you are going to be able to see where things are as the hiring manager goes through the process. So it is going to be a little bit more user-friendly for the applicant to see where we are right now. Sometimes applications of hiring managers are busy and you're not able to get back to them, but at least they can see where you're moving through in the process. The next screen is the notification of interviews. So once we're accepting electronic applications and everything is fully electronic, you'll be able to then correspond with them whether you want to set up an interview, if maybe something's missing in the documents that they submitted and you want to have some type of correspondence. Natalie, can you assist Sheila? Okay, moving on. My CalCareer account hiring supervisor. So this is where you're going to really all come into play. As the hiring supervisor, you're going to establish a hiring supervisor account. You will be invited by HR, Social Services HR unit, to become a have a supervisor account, and that will happen as we start to roll out divisions. You'll be able to view each job control. That's what we currently consider our recruitment and our VPOS. You will be able to view electronically submitted applications and attached documents like I mentioned, transcripts, statement of qualifications, certifications, etc. You'll be able to step to the 5 most qualified applications and electronically submit those for us to review. You'll be able to schedule applicant interviews through the account. You will be able to send and receive applicant messages through the account. That could include, thank you for interviewing at this time if someone's been selected. And also the system will retain the current recruitment history for compliance and audit purposes. Screen is what my staff is going to start by creating the recruit when you submit it to us as the recruit 222. This is what we're now going to be calling the job control. So we will be putting this in, we'll be pulling the information from the recruitment document, and this will now recreate the VPOS announcement and will be the assistance of ordering the certification list. And this is what we will be learning next week when we go over for training at CalHR. Moving on, the My CalCareer Account Personnel Bureau. So what we will be working on establishing and controlling. So we will establish the accounts depend upon the role. HR Systems Administrator, that will be the person that will be assisting with getting everyone log-ons. The job control creator, at this point, how we see this rolling out is that this will be my certification technicians. They're going to be keying the information in that previous screen. The job publisher, again, will be the technician, the certification technician, analyst, and then you, the hiring supervisor, will be assisting, and you'll have a certain log-on and certain accesses. They will be creating the job control for each recruitment. We'll be uploading that to the jobs website like we do now, previously known as our VPOS. Send electronic contact letters to My CalCareer account participants. Accept hiring supervisor requests for eligibility checks, that's the PS412, and return eligibility check outcomes to the hiring supervisor as we do now. And then we'll be clearing the certification list and closing out the job control. Eventually, the clearing of the certification list will be done all electronically when those applicants are sending back their contact letter electronically. What is the new VPOS that's being retired? What is the new job control, previously known as VPOS, going to look like? It's going to be very similar to what you see out there now, and that's this screen here. It will have the same information as it has in the past, pertinent information. And then everyone's is going to look the same, which is nice to be able to pull where to go for everything. Moving on, we have some time that the system is going to be down in the next couple of weeks. So as we cut over to My CalCareer account, the system cutover dates are as follows. We have some days that exam and certification online system is going to be down. There's going to be other days where that system will only HR will have access to it, so we'll be able to do some work. And Also times during which VPAWS will be retired, and that's the 13th and 14th. And then as all goes planned, we'll be up and functioning again on January 15th, and everybody will have access again to the job vacancies, to us being able to order cert lists, and that's basically when our cutover time will start or end. We will have access next week once we're trained at CalHR. We'll go to 2 hours of training, and then we will work in their lab for a couple of hours where we will begin loading vacancies, recruitment vacancies. So we will be working and loading things. You're just not going to be able to see them until the 15th. So currently, if you have announcements out there that are until filled, we have provided those, a listing to each division personnel liaison to ask you what you want done with those, because those will be offline. So we need to know if you want those loaded back up when the system comes back up, because that will all be manual work that we'll have to do. So your personnel liaisons, your main personnel liaisons have been notified of that. And that was earlier this week, so we'll be waiting to hear back from them by next week. It will also, during our cutover period, there's also going to be some downtime with not being able to access ECOS, where we can see if people are reachable for your PS412s. We will, in my unit, continue to MQ them, so we keep the system going, but we will not return them to you until the system's up and we can see that they're reachable. So just know that there could be some downtime with that. Continuing with my CalCareer account Personnel Bureau, the enhanced ecosystem goes live, like I mentioned, on Friday, January 15th. The Personnel Bureau staff will be trained during that time the week prior, as I mentioned. And like I said, we'll be rekeying and uploading job announcements January 7th through the 14th. No one will see them until the 15th. And at this time, I don't know what's going to happen if you've had an announcement out there and it's out there and it doesn't get the full 10 days in prior to the system going down. We're going to have to repost it so that you get full 10 days of advertising. That's just the law that we have to do that. So we are working with CalHR because I have a feeling the system, when we put it back up, it's not going to know that we previously had it advertised. So it's going to want to advertise for another 10 days. Those are things we're trying to work out with CalHR to prove that we had advertised that for a number of days prior. So be patient, and we're trying to work with CalHR on those things. We will be conducting system audits of the work in process and the impact and reviews through the end of January and providing feedback to CalHR. And my CalCareer account Personnel Bureau, our goal, as I mentioned in February, is for the Division of Admin to pilot the hiring supervisor features. The Personnel Bureau will be monitoring the number of applications received by each job control, and if a significant number of eligibility requests arrive simultaneously, those are all things that we'll be considering. If no significant issues are revealed, the Personnel Bureau will roll out, like I mentioned, a division each month thereafter. And I encourage you to talk to your management, and if you're interested in being one of those divisions that wants to be in the forefront, let Maureen Graber know, or I'm going to go over a mailbox that we're going to have that we can be corresponding, and let us know if that's something that you're interested in. Karen. Moving on, my CalCareer account consideration. The hiring supervisor webinar is not yet available by CalHR. Hiring supervisors that are interested in participating in the electronic application feature will view the webinar and request an account from the Personnel Bureau CalCareer Systems Administrator. Requiring a statement of qualifications will assist the hiring supervisor in quickly sorting electronic applications. The system may prevent an applicant from applying if the SOQ is not attached, as I mentioned. All mandatory components of the merit-based recruitment and selection remain in place, and application screening matrix and hiring interviews must still be conducted. The CDSS will continue to accept hard copy, snail mail applications in addition to electronic applications as we make this transition. And we do have a mailbox, like I mentioned, that we're going to be corresponding. And we are asking that you do send comments, suggestions, questions to this mailbox. It's on the website and in your handouts. We will be preparing a FAQ sheet, and we will be using the information that you're providing through that mailbox in the FAQs. So the course objectives, confirmation, we hope that you now understand the Civil Service Improvement Mandate and know where to gather more information if you choose to do so, and that was at the in the beginning. Understand how my CalCareer account differs from the predecessor of the My Profile. We hope you understand what My CalCareer offers to job applicants. We hope you understand what My CalCareer offers to the hiring supervisors. Understand the Cal HR system cutover dates that are provided in your handout, and understand why the HRSB is rolling out the acceptance of My CalCareer electronic applications and hiring supervisors access in accordance with a project plan. What I can suggest that you do is you start familiarizing yourself when the system does come up, what the new VPAWS job control looks like, and that type of information. And then, as like I mentioned, we'll slowly get you access to being able to view online applications. And then also, we want to close with any questions that you have, and questions either from my live audience or from webinar. And then if we cannot answer the questions today, or I cannot, then we can definitely take them back. You can jot them down and give them to me, and we can do some research and get answers for you. So at this time, I will go ahead and open it up to questions. Yes.
I was just going to tell you, I was going to train on the 23rd. Give me a mic. I was training on.
I have a question.
Okay, one moment, and I'll take webinar questions in just a moment. I'll open it up. I'll let you know. If you can just hold tight.
In the training on the 23rd, the initial, reverse the calendar, the initial line was given that if you had an advertisement currently running or being put in now with the timeline, so let's say it was only run for 2 days, then the calendar happens, and then it's run for an additional time period, that it would just be run for an additional 2 days because of the 2 days that it was taken off. So
that is our goal, and that's what we're hoping for, and that we have an email in to the project manager at CalHR right now.
Okay.
If we can prove in an audit that we had advertised at this end and then picked it up for 2 days at that end, that should be good enough. But we don't know if we're going to have access to be able to pull it down.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Another question? Selena?
Question about what ability managers will have to view multiple recruitments. So say, for example, at the branch chief level, would you be able to see all the recruitments in your organization, and can managers share and view, across 2 different units to look at the candidate pools, that sort of thing?
Right. You as a hiring manager, I know, will have the ability to have whatever recruits you have out there, have access to them, so you will have access to multiples. As far as allowing other managers access to your information, I don't know how that's going to play out yet. And like if you're out, or you have someone else doing the screening, that kind of stuff is still being worked out. And then to what extent we don't like to see. As a hiring manager, we always say you should be the one that's doing the screening and you should have access. And I know there's been some concern and questions about whether other people will be allowed to do that at a lower level. From the HR perspective, we know the hiring manager should be screening those apps. So those are things that we're going to have to work out when we start allowing managers to have access. Who's going to have access to those accounts?
And then one follow-up question about how we envision integrating support staff. So it sounds like the profiles will allow the hiring managers to schedule interviews and things like that, which we typically rely on support staff to assist with. Will they be able to have the ability to go in and do those things.
And that's something that we're gonna have to look at what access we're allowing the hiring manager to have and what access you are gonna allow your clerical staff to have, because I totally agree, you would be having other people more than likely set up those interviews. So those are things that we will ask CalHR about, definitely.
I brought up something similar in the 23rd trade. We have four. I'll be with the interview process.
Right. Yeah, so there's positive things, but then there's things that if we're gonna have things locked down so much, then how are we gonna have other people having access that usually have involvement in this process? I think Robert has a question. Okay. Okay. Natalie?
I have a quick question. I don't need that microphone. That would be really bad. So yesterday, Maureen mentioned that hard copy applications, that we will have to enter some of that information into the system. Do we know yet how much of that information will need to be entered? I mean, is it just going to be their name, what classification they're applying for?
Right, and that is a question to the project manager as well. 10 questions this morning to the project manager at CalHR to find out if we are going to be responsible for uploading hard copies. Because if we can say this is a transition period and we can show in an audit, here's part of it, unfortunately, part of it's in a hard copy stage, then that should be, as long as we have, proof. Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Any other questions?
I had a question with the supervisors, that screen where we could go and have correspondence, schedule interviews, etc. Is it the goal that all that correspondence should be now contained within this system and not in private email? And does that include providing tentative offers within this application?
Good question. We would be moving towards everything being electronic because that's what CalHR and SPB, the auditors, want. And I wouldn't see a problem once taking it all the way through to a tentative offer, because if it's a tentative offer, I don't know how you make them now if you're doing it email or via telephone. If you're doing an email, I don't see how that differs much from putting it in the system for audit purposes.
As long as others can see.
Right, that's true. Good point, Karen.
The hiring supervisor
Good
be
question.
able to post the job announcements, or is that still going through?
We're going to hit webinar questions just after this last question we have here in the room. Go ahead.
So the question I want to know, is there a repository in the platform to store screening criteria? Right now, if it's tracked in an Excel sheet or a Word document, is there a repository to store in the platform that evidence those artifacts?
So what you have right now, like in an Excel document, there should be a way to upload that information moving forward. As how it's stored, that's all on CalHR's system. To our knowledge, it's not being stored in ISD's area. It's all stored on their servers. And I would have to find out if there's a way to screen or scan that information onto your Excel document.
Or even just save it
Right.
without having to print it. So,
Yeah, you should be able to have access as the hiring manager to go back in and look at your past recruits. Those should be stored for at least 2 years.
okay.
Yeah. In the back, one last
And
question.
that was part of my question, whether or not the entire package was going to be self-contained within that room, that we would upload the entire package that
Yes.
we would normally keep for a couple years into that.
Yes, and we should have access to that for up to 2 years for audit purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, we'll go to some webinar questions.
So I'm going to go ahead and read the ones that I have from this webinar format, and then if I don't hit it, go ahead and ask. So the first one is this for current state employees and the public who wish to apply for jobs? Will the public be able to access
Yes.
this as well?
This new system is for the public as well as current state employees. And then the hiring managers, obviously in state service, all departments will have access to this CalHR system.
When will the webinar be available for hiring supervisors?
We're going to be checking with CalHR. We've been checking daily and don't see that they've loaded anything, so I would think by the middle of January it should be available, if not sooner.
How will supervisors be alerted to applications have been received?
They will be responsible for going into their hiring supervisor account when they've set up the recruits. Or we've set up the recruits, they will be responsible for going in. They may get an email in their social service email account saying that there's been activity in the account. But other than that, they would need to go into the account. Oh, I'm sorry.
As a hiring manager, will they be able to forward information to other managers? Do you guys hear me? Am I not loud? As a hiring manager, will they be able to forward or CC information on their profile to others? Does that make sense? This one.
I don't have that information at this time. That has not been discussed, whether you would be able to forward that information. I would think if you're forwarding it for an interview panel, then it would just be printed out and used as a hard copy in an interview. But as far as sharing applications, I don't know. I have the answer for that, because I think you'd have to have access to get it between the hiring supervisors, have to have access to each other's accounts.
Maybe we can get these, or we can go ahead and ask them now.
Okay. Okay.
If an application is screened out early and the applicant feels they are qualified, does it open it up for appeals?
The appeal process would be handled through the PS 412 process. So you may talk as the hiring supervisor, you may talk about what you were looking for in the applicant, but their appeal process would be through state personnel board, but typically that would be handled through that they didn't meet the minimum qualifications.
Next. Will the hiring supervisor be able to post the job announcement, or will personnel continue to post?
At this time, personnel will continue to post the job announcements. Eventually, or possibly in the future, we could look at this system being an electronic process where the hiring supervisor or personnel liaisons may key that job control, which would then start as the recruitment 222. But first things first, we're going to make sure that the certs are working, the electronic contact letters are working, that type of stuff. That's a vision in the future, though.
Okay, last one. Can the hiring panel have access to the applicant account?
Applicant account. The hiring manager would only have access to the applications that were put into their hiring supervisor account, but they're not going to have access to individuals' profile.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
From on here, I'm not sure if they have any more.
Is there any questions on the phone or webinar?
Hello, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have been on the site for CalPERS, and I think it's sort of the same way. Like you have to create, a profile, an account. You can submit all of your stuff online. So is that sort of like the same thing? I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
I have seen that, and that is like CalPERS uses that as a applying process. It's a separate software package. This would be something that strictly CalHR is using, and the way CalPERS uses it is basically through the automatic recruitment process.
Oh, okay.
It's like their 222, it's all automated.
Okay, so now this one for CalHR, this is going to be just across the board, statewide, for any positions that want to be applied for in any agency, department. It's just statewide.
Correct, and the people that are applying at CalPERS would be responsible basically for kind of going to be twofold. They're going to, CalPERS is still going to have to order their certification list through this CalHR system, so they're going to have to figure a way to integrate the two together.
Oh, wow. So it might be a little difficult at first, say if there was a position someone wanted to apply for at CalPERS.
It could be. I don't know how they've looked at it and how they're proceeding.
Okay, all right, that was it. Thank you.
Any other questions on the phone?
On the instructions, it said to print out the attachment or the PowerPoint presentation, but I didn't find any attachments. Will you guys be sending that?
So
I did not get it either.
is this on?
We have a question.
So go ahead and on the webinar dashboard on your screen, there should be a section that says handouts. If not, I'll go ahead and send it to you via email.
Yeah, I don't have anything that says handouts, unfortunately.
Okay. What's your name?
Gabriela Zuniga.
You know what? I'm going to send it to everyone on the webinar.
Oh, good, because I don't have it either.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Oh. Are we supposed to still use the hard copy PS222s for now to initiate a package?
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of the eligibility review, what is the expected turnaround time on that?
The PS412?
Yes.
5 to 8 working days.
Oh, how many can you do in a batch?
We request 5 because we want it to be fair and equitable for all hiring supervisors. So it's one sheet, one PS412 sheet, and there's space for 5 names because we're getting those across the board from the department. So we want it to be fair that everyone gets reviewed timely.
So far, on an average, we've been receiving 1 or 2 which have been wholly eligible, and locally we like to have anywhere from 8 to 10, maybe individuals so that we can interview.
Right.
In that process, we're only receiving, in the average, 1 to 2 per batch. And it's taking basically, we're now have our current hires taking about a month to get all these batches back. So we have a ample supply or number of qualified candidates. We haven't yet been able to interview for that. It's been about a month. So the turnaround time on that, in terms of the percentage of those which are qualified in that batch, is very low. Is there any way to streamline that so that we can get more qualified candidates per batch? Or change that system?
Well, I could advise you that if you're, what classification is this?
The PT.
Program Tech 2?
The Program Tech.
Oh, Program Tech. So in your screening, you could make yourself aware of what the minimum qualifications are. So when you're screening, the hopes are that you're getting those people, not in addition to screening what you're looking for, but that they're meeting the minimum qualifications, which I believe is 1 year of clerical. Are you seeing that they are having, before you're sending them to us, are you seeing that they have 1 year of full-time clerical work? So that might be an assistance. You could also, as you are having your coming up to your final file and you're starting to screen, you can send some to us on a flow basis. And you can interview on a flow basis. That might assist in speeding up the process. But you just could not send anything, a firm offer to us or an appoint 222 until after that final file date. Okay.
So if admin division is going to be testing in February, what will Jan 15 to February look like if we have a current, or if we have a posting?
It'll be business as normal. Once the system comes back up, you're still going to submit a PS222 hard copy with all the necessary PS375 duty statements, all that information, and then we will be processing those. It may be a little bit slower, I'm going to admit, because it's all new to us. I will have the normal 2 text processing as well as CMP and the exam analysts are being trained on it. But it's going to be a workflow, and I'm going to admit it could be a little bit slow for a little while. But we're going to be doing our best that we can.
Will applicants be allowed to electronically submit before their division is allowed to see it electronically?
No, the advertisement, we're going to say whether we're accepting electronic applications or not. So they wouldn't be able to submit it electronically unless we have opened up that job control to say we'll accept electronic apps.
Quick question. We have received sometimes for LPA positions about 80 to 90 or 100 applications. Just for the sake of application, let's say if 70 people are qualified, how we are going to vet out or how many people we need to interview?
You're going to have to make that choice by using your screening criteria. And you can take your top applicants and then submit those, do some interviews. If something doesn't work or things don't come back that they're reachable, then you can submit additional applications on the PS412. But it's going to be up to the hiring manager once they've screened those to pick which they're going to interview first. Selena?
Just to clarify, the blackout dates for VPOS, so if an applicant is trying to log on to VPOS, create a profile in the current VPOS environment,
right,
are the blackout dates just the 13th and 14th that it'll be down, so they could still be doing anything in VPOS up until those 2 dates?
That's what we're currently understanding, but things are changing rapidly. I could have an email when I go back.
And then just curious, what does ECOS stand for?
The ECOS is the Examination Certification Online System. So we talked about this being phase 3 in the rollout. Phase 2 was when we rolled and began ordering certification lists and contact letters on this ECOS system. The next phase is going to be the examination, because currently CalHR is still using their legacy system, which is very archaic. It's a 24-hour period that when we key stuff that we don't see anything till the next day. And so that's the next phase, is that everything in CalHR's exam and certification system will eventually be on this system. And also like our CEA advertisements, we just heard yesterday that that's also going to be part of this phase. We didn't previously know that. We saw a tab when we went to practice, but they didn't let us know that. So lots of changes. So that's another thing. Current exam announcements, like our continuous test, continuous file announcements, they will come down, and then we'll have to repost those as well as CEA announcements. Yes.
Is the STD 678 an electronic form that is submitted, or is it they have to still fill it out and rescan it and attach the hard copy to the application process?
Right now, when we're still accepting hard copies, they will have to still print that out.
The new system.
The new system, I don't know what the new system looks like, because we were questioning whether in the current the state application it has the EEO information, right, when technically they should not be submitting that for a hiring. So that was another question we sent over this morning, is that new application going to have that part removed? So it will actually be 2 separate applications, one that has the EEO information when I'm taking an exam versus applying. It should not be on there. Any other questions?
Julie, you mentioned a list that was sent to the personnel liaisons. Ours is on vacation, and I did not get it, even though I'm listed as her out-of-office contact.
Who is this?
This is Elisa Sujihara from Fiscal Forecasting. I sent you an email, too.
Okay.
So can somebody forward that to us?
Yes, I will send that to you when I get back to my office. And I think we requested information back by the 6th on that, or those charts. If there's no other information, I thank you for participating today. And like I say, you have the email that's up and running, so please feel free to contact us.